What is going on, everybody? This is Jonathan Ferrell, and I'm here with Mr. Scott Hardy himself. I'm so excited because we have our very first official podcast, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. But for those of you who don't know Scott Hardy, I just wanted to give him a quick introduction. He's a master salesman, master of his craft, and he's already provided us with a ton of value. And I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of what makes Scott Hardy Scott Hardy. So, Scott, I know that you have a vast background as far as sales, and so I wanted to get into that. Like, what was it that made you start down this career of sales? And, you know, what was it that got you into this crazy crazy business that we call sales?
I mean, Let's start with that. Nobody gets into sales on purpose. I mean, everybody wants to. I was going to be a creative director for advertising agencies. I went to school to get a marketing degree with emphasis in advertising, and what I found out was to start out in that industry, you made about $19,000 a year.
Right.
And I was not interested in that. I didn't want to work my way up. I wanted instant gratification. My uncle worked for Viacom and got me a job at Showtime. I mean, literally, his influence got the job. I was young. I was fresh out of San Francisco State. And one day I came home to my wife, who this May 14th will be 37 years married.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I said to her, she was having a glass of wine. I said, you know what? Really, honey, I'm just in sales.
It's true.
I'm just in sales. And I realized nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Yeah.
And that is a critical realization. War doesn't happen. Healthcare doesn't happen. Government changes doesn't happen. A new car, nothing happens until somebody sells something. I have to convince you that this is important to do. And so what I learned, because luckily my first job was I got very well trained. Mm-hmm. And that was with my uncles who owned radio stations. And that's where I went after high school. I had no intention of going to college. I had 100% intention of making money off of my voice. I was a goof off in high school. I had my own radio show. You know, I loved DJing and playing music and all of that.
So podcasting's nothing new for you then, obviously.
This is great as well. You know, I'm used to talking to myself in a room for 4 hours alone, right? I mean, that's what I'm used to doing. You know, so how did I get this way? That's how I got this way, right? But the key was learning this one thing. That selling is understanding what you want. So I say it this way. Sales is asking, not telling.
Absolutely.
Sales leadership is showing, not telling. If I want to show you how to sell something, you need to come and watch me because I can't explain it. And I can write book after book, which I have other books out there. And you don't learn anything from that. And I think there's a phenomenon when I public speak, people are motivated, we go to training sessions, we go to motivational seminars. I ask people all the time, and I'll ask you, it's just a game I play, how many books on sales do you have?
Right now, I have about 40.
Okay, so the first one didn't work? Play along.
The 40th one worked.
So, and why did it work?
Because then they started implementing what I was
You
reading.
did what it said.
Exactly.
So you can choose probably any sales book. They all say the same thing. They say this, except for some out there. I mean, there are some that I would call the art of the con, okay?
Right.
That's not what we're about. What we're about is this. The people I work with and the people I influence are about needs and benefits and the analysis between the two. So when you tell me I have a square peg, I say, well, we have a square hole, and it's a perfect fit. I know people who have round holes and will tell you that your square peg will fit in there.
Right.
And guess what? With a hammer, I can get it in there. But there's a lot of space around those sides, right? Those little half moons. That's unmet needs. And those are what happens when I show up and I see the window of unmet needs, I pull your product out and I give the correct product.
Right.
And that is what I want everyone to understand, that sales is not talking, it's not convincing, it's showing and telling, and it's showing someone that you need something and you may not even know you need it.
Right.
And that format, which you saw some of our bigger retailers adopt years later, is called Did You Knows. Did you know? You know, did you know that it's free to use a real estate agent to buy a home in the state of California?
Right.
Did you know that in New York you have to pay a commission? Did you know? Did you know? And that's when people are educated. Americans have a very unique characteristic, and that is they will listen to you talk for hours and not understand much of what you're saying and never let you know that.
Absolutely.
So our other technique is to ask people if anyone has ever shown them this. Has anyone ever shown you how to read a settlement statement in real estate? Has anyone ever shown you the different loan options? So we talk like that.
Absolutely.
And that's how I got into sales by accident. I had children, I had to pay my bills, and I found that the unlimited opportunities fit my personality type, which was I don't want to be judged by the hours that I work. I want to be judged by the production that I produce.
Absolutely. And that's huge because, sales itself, in life every day, everybody's selling something, whether you're selling yourself to, somebody who you're going to work with, whether you're selling your services, whether you're selling different products. And so like people think of sales as just this, like, oh, you have to be selling something, but I can even be selling myself to you right now. I could be selling my friendship to you. I could be selling, various things that are going to also bring benefit, overall.
Well, let me give you a perfect example. I'll use training dogs as an example.
Right.
So when you get a new dog, when you get a puppy, any of you, when you get a puppy, training is happening the moment you get that puppy. The puppy is training you or you are training the puppy. And my joke is, I know it's the bacon, but I think it's love.
Right.
I just pretend it's love. Okay, we can get into that all day long, whether a dog loves you or doesn't love you or anything. My dog is a Weimaraner hunting dog, and it can sniff. And I tell you what, if I have a piece of anything under my fingernail from lunch or anything, it knows where that is. It will give me the impression that it loves me. It doesn't care. It wants food, warmth, and shelter, and a tummy rub. That's really what it wants. And I found that's what humans want too.
Right.
And the tummy rub comes this is how the tummy rub comes in human relationships. I heard what you said. Right. I'm keeping my word to you. I said please, and I said thank you. And if you take that model, if you take everything away from selling, if you take all costs away, so if all loans are free, you just have to fill out the application with someone. If all real estate purchases are free, you just have to use an agent to do it. What are you going to choose based on? If you take all costs away.
Personality.
Quality
of the people.
Quality.
Personality.
So sure, the fit, right?
Right.
I mean, some people like to work with different types. My wife has a more introverted personality. I have one friend that has a extroverted personality. Everyone that I like to be around allows me to do the talking.
Right.
And I add more value in a relationship through speaking and storytelling than I do as listening. I'm not as good of a listener.
Right.
But in the sales environment, I had to train myself to do active listening, and that is repeating back to you what you said.
Right.
So you're looking for a purple car with white pinstripes.
Right.
You told me that, but I have to say it back to you so that I make sure I heard what you said. And I've played that telephone trick at the dinner table. And in my family, it only takes two people to change the story. It started out, he was angry at her and he said, move. And by the second person, he was naked in the street with a Uzi.
Right.
I mean, we just exaggerate, right, to make the story more thrilling. So it's very important when you communicate in sales to say back to the prospective client, okay, what you thought you heard, right, so that they can correct you and say, yes, I want purple, but not white pinstripes, light pinstripes, not white, light. And you're like, okay. So like light purple, because in sales, this is something my Uncle Bill taught me. He said this I was 18, actually, I was in Montana with him, and he said, sales is like this, Scotty. Somebody is standing on the other side of a brick wall that's 20 feet high. You can't see them. And they have a slingshot and they shoot you over a green ball and they say, we want a green ball like this, but greener.
Right.
And you have to figure out, what does that mean? What does greener? It's green already. Do you mean lighter greener, darker greener? Okay, so this is the interview process where we do what's called a needs analysis. So our skill is such, as a proper salesman or woman, to come in and ask the questions that we know that you should be able to answer. And when you can't answer them, or you give us an answer we know is incorrect, that's how we know we can help you.
Right. It's funny that you say that, because within my lending experience, like asking various questions to people, like my introduction call is literally just that needs phone call. Like, okay, let's go through what you want, and then I'm going to put together the scenarios that are going to get you to where you want. So like I go through my questionnaire, like, okay, how many, like what are you looking for as like a comfortable monthly payment? How much are you planning for your down payment? What area are you looking at? And then based off of those answers, that's when I could formulate, okay, I believe that this is going to be the best loan for you. I'm going to give you guys the options so that way you can then come to your own.
And you know, that's exactly what you should do, Jonathan.
Right.
Because what happens is when we document your needs, we now know when they change.
Yep.
See, if I don't document, if I don't do a needs analysis, I can't get a baseline that this is where your brain is today. Hey, you're going to change your mind about certain things. When we get out on the marketplace, I mean, if I want to go look for a home right now, I want one with a pool, I want one with an office, I want a place for my gym, I want 14,000 car garage so I can put my music in there and everything.
Right.
And then I'm going to get reality when I go and look at it. And I'm going to realize, ooh, that's a bit. So if I'm going to start shaving things back. I may not tell you that. That's your job to ask me.
Right.
Has anything changed since the last time we met or spoke?
Absolutely.
Nobody asks that. Nobody does this, which is semi-related to this. Follow this one. So I call you, and the first thing I ask you is, did I catch you at a bad time? I don't ram my conversation down your throat because guess what? I don't do that when I call my mom.
Right.
I don't call that, we're friends. I don't call you up and say, hey, Jonathan, it's Scott, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, wait, is now a good time?
And you're like, dude, I can't talk to you right now. And you're like, yeah, but that's not what I do.
Right.
That's what telemarketers do who have no skill whatsoever.
Right.
So when everyone tells you in sales that even if it's a numbers game, and even a blind squirrel can find a nut. Have you ever watched a blind squirrel try to find a nut?
I have not, no.
Okay. I just picture it in my mind.
That's
and
what I was
don't
doing.
have a lot of patience. That would be the most frustrating. Okay, my dog is a hunting dog, and there was a rabbit in our backyard, and for the life of me, I mean, it was standing by my foot practically. I couldn't get the dog to focus it. It was like watching a blind squirrel find a nut. It passed it and passed it and passed it and passed it and passed it. And you know what? That is a waste of time.
Right.
Okay? That is a waste of time. I'd rather be skilled. I know my product, I know my industry, so I know which questions to ask and I know how to interact with you. And I am a courteous person and I understand that I can't see you when I call, and the difference between an in-face sales call and an over-the-phone sales call is close your eyes when you're in-face and you can pretend you're on the phone.
Right.
That's the only difference. All right, so the tone and inflection of your voice, the pacing, how fast you speak, that
100%.
you mirror so when you hear the person, because everything is sped up on the phone.
Right.
Everything is sped up, and I talk fast enough to begin with, so I have to really focus up and slow
Tone it down a
myself
little
down
bit.
and speak like this on the phone. So when I ask you, did I catch you at a bad time, I'm not looking for any particular answer. I want to know the truth. And you say, yes, this is a bad time. When would be a better time? Call me back in 15 minutes. Great. That's my experience of human beings. My experience is they're reasonable. If you talk like a normal human being, just remove the cussing. Talk to them like you talk to anyone. If you tell your mom about this business, and this is it's kind of an old school training technique that I used where I would say, if your mom said, honey, I opened a new business and now I'm going to live in this town and I want to go buy a house. What are you going to do? How are you going to speak to her? How are you going to make sure? And let me tell you one other thing. How is she going to treat you? She is going to trust you because trust is a choice.
Right.
It's not an event. Trust is a choice. You've done everything right. She's watched you in your job over the years. She totally respects you. She knows what a little screw off you were in high school and that you now have your act together, and she's impressed. She knows all that. Guess
Right.
what? Your client that found you over the internet is no way to know all that.
Exactly.
This is what they know. You are your word, and you say please and thank you.
Absolutely.